Hello, it's Gary Hewitt from Thought Knocks, and I'd like to take a moment to talk about what I would call the social media tax. So, I'm not talking about, governments taxing social media. What I'm talking about is the tax it sort of exerts, or the effort it exerts over business itself. You need to be on social media, or so you keep getting told. And once you start, if you're in business, you want to do things well. So, of course, if you're going to be on social media, the question is, how do we do social media well? Then you start going down this rabbit hole of how do you get more likes on things? How do you get more shares? How do you get more views? How do you grow your list? How do you get more followers? And that starts to siphon off some of your creative energy. Now, some people thrive in that environment because they're really people, but not everybody does. And not every business has the wherewithal to be able to, A, avoid the trap of chasing that rabbit or staying out of the rabbit hole, or being able to be clear about their intent, their purpose in business, why they're in business, and being able to portray that without falling prey to the I want more likes, I want more followers. And I'm guilty of this. I feel this many times. And the other trap that I have is I start, doom scrolling on YouTube itself, because I'm in YouTube a lot because of the video work that I do. So all of that time, could be used for other things. All of that creative energy could be used for other things. So that's a challenge. How do you deal with that? How do you become good at social media without social media affecting you and the primary aim of your business? Now, if your business is to be famous for being famous, otherwise known as being an influencer, then yeah, you need to chase that rabbit because that rabbit is your business, and you don't have a business unless you catch that rabbit. But not every business is like that. And I think that's part of the challenge that we have as individual business owners, is figuring out which rabbits we do need to chase, which ones make sense for us, which ones apply to our business model. I see people that follow advice from gurus that are designed for multi-million or multi-billion dollar corporations. And you can't compete with those levels. So the same tactics and strategies are not going to work for you unless you have that kind of money. A lot of these big corporations, they can hold their breath financially for 10 years. So if they're losing $1 billion a year, there's no way that you're going to make a dent in that space unless you're insanely creative. You've got something new. It does happen. There are those stories. But the likelihood of that happening is very, very slim. The bulk of businesses that survive are based on foundational principles, being of service, not to the shareholder, but being of service to the customer. I mean, we have an example in Red Lobster recently, but there's way more, littering the landscape, where this desire from pleasing the shareholders actually ends up destroying the business. And you don't want to go down that path. If you start taking money from other people, it comes with a lot of obligations. So that's one of the things, thankfully, I've avoided. You can look at that two ways. Maybe nobody just wanted to give me any money, but that's a different story. I never really looked for it. I've always looked at, given the landscape, what will be of service to the customer. And can we do that on a long-term basis? And most of my commitments have been, interestingly enough, about 17 years at a time. So there's a chance I'm doing something right. I just need to scale it up more. And that's currently what I'm working on this time around, is to be able to do this much bigger. And because I'm doing this much bigger, I'm on social media. and I'm doing this for myself. Before, I was always trying to do things for other people, and that's one of the big mistakes that I made early on, is I didn't put myself first enough. I know that sounds weird and wrong, but I think if there's anything I could tell people that is beneficial, is please, if you're out to help other people, you are part of the group of people that you need to help. And I'm working on formulas and systems to that effect, because it is a very, very challenging problem to solve. You want to help everybody else, and you forget to help yourself. So, big mistake that I made. Now I'm course correcting. The whole thing about learning, you only learn when you realize something is wrong, and then you adapt and you move on. The organism that survives the best is the one that learns from its mistakes, learns from its environment, and adapts. And that's the stage that I'm in now. I wish I was much further along, but I am where I am, and I'm finally on the playing field for myself, and it looks way different when you're on the playing field than when you're on the sidelines coaching somebody else. So that's my rant for today. So thank you for listening. Hopefully you don't get sucked into the social media rabbit holes unless you want to be famous for being famous. If so, good for you. Thank you.